Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a book review on Hocus Pocus and the all-new sequel by A.W. Jantha. In Hocus Pocus and the all-new sequel by A.W. Jantha, we begin in Salem, Massachusetts, 1993. Max wants to impress his crush, Allison, by going to the creepy Sanderson house on Halloween night. What follows is the return of the Sanderson Sisters, back from the dead, and they desire nothing more than to live and stay young forever. Max, alongside Allison and his sister Dani, fight to keep the witches from carrying out their evil plans before the children of Salem are lost forever. 25 years later, Max and Allison's daughter Poppy finds herself face to face with the Sanderson Sisters on Halloween night, and Poppy must unite with friends and enemies alike to stop the Sanderson Sisters once and for all. So, you guys, I am a Hocus Pocus nut. I freaking love this movie. Hocus Pocus, it's one of those movies from my childhood that I can pretty much quote the entire thing. And I'm not joking. I can pretty much quote the entire thing. I know where all the punchlines are. I know where all the key moments of dialogue are. I can quote every bit of it. It's just one of those movies that I loved as a kid and I still love to this day. And Hocus Pocus, it's turned into a cult classic. It wasn't a very successful movie back when it was originally released. It kind of gained popularity through its numerous showings on television every year, through the month of October and on Halloween. So yeah, I think over the decades and whatnot, more and more people have watched Hocus Pocus and have fallen in love with it, and yeah, that's how it's turned into this iconic cult classic in some ways. So, of course, I was definitely a bit hesitant, not gonna lie, I was a bit hesitant to pick up this book because I wasn't really quite sure what to expect going into it. Kind of glancing through the book, what I knew about it going into it, I knew that the first half of the book was going to essentially be a written format of the movie, The first half is the movie. That's what you're getting word for word and whatnot. And then the second half of the book is the 25 years later aspect, where we're following the daughter of Max and Allison. I ultimately, on Goodreads, I gave this book 3 stars. And I guess throughout this video I'll explain why I gave it 3 stars. In some ways, I just don't think this book was necessary. I mean, if someone wanted to write a book version of the movie, that's fine, But it's the sequel part. I don't think the sequel part was necessarily needed. Because it felt like a rehash, a retread of the movie, if you get my drift. I felt like it was just the same exact story. So just to focus on the first half of the book for right now, like I said, the first half of the book is the movie. You are getting the exact movie word for word. Now, even if you are a die-hard fan of the movie, there's actually some surprises in the first half because there were some scenes, there were some moments of dialogue. I was like, I don't remember that being in the movie. And so yeah, just little things added. There were a few little things added that kind of enhanced the story, kind of fleshed things out a little bit more. Maybe things that the movie kind of didn't further explain that the movie needed to explain or something. So the book is kind of explaining those things. And another thing that I really appreciated about the book version of the movie, in the movie, you're not in the headspace of those characters, you know what I mean? So in the book, you get to be in their headspace. You get to see what Max is thinking during this situation. You get to see what Allison or Dani is thinking during this situation, what the Sanderson sisters are thinking about during this situation. So if this book had strictly been just, the movie, I probably definitely would have rated it maybe 4 or 5 stars. Because yeah, that was enjoyable. The first half was definitely the most enjoyable, the parts that I enjoyed the best, the parts that I think were the best written as well. So yeah, moving on, because I want to primarily focus on the second half, because the second half is the sequel, as it's termed. You know, I hate the title of this book, Hocus Pocus and the all-new sequel. Couldn't they give it a more clever title? I don't know. But yeah, the second half is definitely where I had my issues. And where I'm primarily rating this book a 3-star more than anything. Now, the second half of the novel, there's nothing particularly bad. It's not like it's terribly written. I think more than anything, I liked the characters. I definitely like the characters. I definitely like the character of Poppy, who is Max and Allison's daughter. I really liked her characteristics and her human flaws, and just the way she is as a character in general. I just really liked her. I really liked her setup of friends as well. Her core friend group, I really liked all of them. I liked kind of Poppy's foil, which was another girl. She's like a cheerleader, I think. I really liked her because she's like the foe. And then something else in particular I liked in regards to the characters. The one character of, what is his name? Let me look at my notes really quickly. Jay. The character of Jay. If you recall in the movie, Jay is the blonde guy who bullies Max. Him and the other guy. But yeah, Jay, the blonde guy. So of course, like I said, it's 25 years later. In the book, in the second half, Jay he's the school principal now, which is kind of crazy, you know, considering that he was mean to Max, he was a bully, and now he's the school principal, which I love that. Something that I love there with the character of Jay, 25 years later, is the fact that, you know, the way the movie ends, without spoiling too much of the movie, in case you've not seen the movie, the way the movie ends, you're kind of left hanging with what happens to Jay and his friend Ernie. Max kind of abandons them. Max doesn't help them at all. And so 25 years later, Jay is still traumatized by that. He has a bit of PTSD, if you will. He's still traumatized by that. He's still very bitter and angry with Max and Allison. He definitely has no love for them. And you sympathize with Jay, weirdly enough, considering that he was the bully in the movie. You know, you didn't really like him at all. And you definitely sympathize with him, and you understand where he's coming from. So I liked that aspect of the book, that the sequel was kind of dealing with some of those unresolved ramifications that, you know, the movie left hanging. You know, the movie just kind of ends. You know, it just ends, and it doesn't kind of fully conclude some of the characters' stories. So I like that this book, it kind of wraps up a few things that the movie didn't wrap up, I suppose. So yeah, like I said, what my primary issue with this novel was, like I said, the second half of the book, my primary issue with the second half of the book, is that it just felt very repetitive. A group of teenagers, they get up to mischief on Halloween night, and that raises the dead of the Sanderson sisters, and the Sanderson sisters come back from the dead. It's the same plot, you guys. It's the exact same plot. You just have some different characters in there kind of doing some different things, but essentially it's about trying to put the Sanderson sisters, you know, send them back to hell. And speaking of the Sanderson sisters, that was another one of my big issues. I didn't like the interpretation of the Sanderson sisters in the second half of the novel. It just didn't feel like the Sanderson sisters. I think you just can't replicate that. You know, the way the Sanderson sisters were created and the way they, you know, the actresses portraying them, their personalities, their quirks, their sense of humor, you just can't replicate that for a sequel. You know what I mean? It's kind of a one-hit wonder in some ways. So I felt like that just didn't work for me. They did not feel like the Sanderson sisters. There was just something, I can't describe it, there was just something missing. You know, there wasn't that lovability to them. And something else that I should mention, I actually did not put this in my own review. It was when I was looking at other people's reviews that I saw another complaint that perhaps I should put in this video. Another complaint that I saw from other fellow reviewers is that even though the first half of the book is identical to the movie in some ways, there is one additional thread that is added that is not in the movie whatsoever. And it's it's put in there to help with the sequel. And I saw that a lot of people had issues with that narrative inclusion. Like I said, I'm not going into spoilers here. I saw that a lot of people had that issue, that there was something included in the first half that was not in the original movie. There was something included just for the sake that it could carry into the sequel. Because let's put it this way, if there was a sequel to Hocus Pocus, the sequel could not sit and add something that was not already established in the first movie. You know what I mean? It has to kind of follow what was already set up in the movie. So the book doesn't make no sense almost, because there's something included in the first half that was originally not there, and it's only included there so that way it can go into the sequel. And it's really, it doesn't make no sense. It doesn't make no sense, because you got to think about it that way. If there was a movie sequel, am I making sense? I'm not sure if I'm making sense. You guys, you got to think about it that way. How sequels work. You can't just include something for the sake of including something if it wasn't already established in the first book or the first movie or whatever format you're going with, you know? Does that make sense? I'm still not quite positive if I'm making sense, because I feel like I'm kind of running around in circles here trying to explain what I'm trying to say. So at the end of the day, guys, I did give this book 3 stars. It was okay. This book is definitely worthwhile for just the first half alone, especially if you love the movie. And like I said, there's a few little additional things in there that kind of enhance the story, enhance the characters, which I appreciated. But yeah, the second half, nowhere near as good. It just felt like a rehash, a retread. But what's the most enjoyable is the characters, though. I did really like the characters and their dynamic and whatnot. But yeah, just the way the narrative was, it just felt repetitive. The Sanderson Sisters were just not the Sanderson Sisters to me. So yeah, just overall an okay book. I would primarily just read it for the first half alone, to be honest. So that's it for this book review of Hocus Pocus, you guys. In the comments below, have you read this book adaptation of the movie? What'd you think of it? Are you a huge fan of Hocus Pocus, the movie? Let me know your thoughts down below. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye, guys.